What's good, fam? Y'all ready for this? Cause today we about to chop it up about a legendary duo coming back from a long break. Clipse finally dropped their album, Let God Sort 'Em Out, and this ain't no ordinary comeback. We talking about 15 years since they last blessed us with a project, and bruh, this one is serious heat. I'm not just saying that to flex. This joint is packed with fire from start to finish and is shaking up the game in ways nobody saw coming. Now I gotta be real with you. When Pusha T and Malice go quiet for over a decade, the streets start to wonder if they even gonna come back. But now these two legends been cooking, and Pharrell Williams, their day one producer and an OG of the craft, was right there holding it down behind the scenes. When they announced a 13-track album dropping under Roc Nation, folks immediately knew this was gonna be a major event. Pharrell ain't just producing. Dude got his vocals sprinkled all over the project too, showing that magic touch we've been fiending for. The blend of Pharrell's production with Clipse's razor-sharp lyricism, that alone is reason enough to turn your ears up. But hold up, it don't stop there. This album is loaded with features that got the whole hip-hop community hyped. Kendrick Lamar, Nas, Tyler, The Creator, John Legend, The Dream, Stove God Cooks, and Ab Lever all link up on this project. Plus there's a gospel group, Voices of Fire, throwing down soulful vibes. That lineup alone tells you these cats weren't playing. Kendrick and Nas, that's like bringing the old and new kings together, giving the album a weighty presence that you can't ignore. And Tyler, The Creator, man, he brings his own wild energy, flipping the script in a way only he can. These collabs aren't just there for clout, they add layers and depth to the album that keep you locked in. Let's talk about the tracks themselves, since that's where the real storytelling's at. The album opens up with The Birds Don't Sing, featuring John Legend and Voices of Fire. If you listen closely, you feel the soulful energy right away, setting a tone that's reflective but powerful. It's like they saying, we back, but we different. Times changed us, and we coming with a message. That joint really hits you in the chest, trust me. Then you got Chains and Whips with Kendrick Lamar, and man, you know when Kendrick's on a track, it's gonna be some intellectual bars and storytelling that make you think. Clipse riding that hard beat, bringing their streetwise lyricism, while Kendrick weaves in complexity and intensity. Then flip over to POV, where Tyler, The Creator, steps in. He's got that out there vibe that contrasts perfectly with Clipse's hardcore approach. His unique style cuts through the album like a breath of fresh air, breaking up the aggression with some funk and creativity only Tyler can master. And the way Pharrell's production smooths all these styles together, that's the kind of synergy that's rare in hip-hop nowadays. The closing track, Let God Sort 'Em Out Chandeliers, features Nas, and that joint brings it all full circle. Nas's classic smooth flow grounds the project, while Clipse lays down bars that hit like a punch. That track alone reminds you why Nas remains God's son, no cap. Pharrell's influence on this album really can't be overstated. His beats aren't just beats, they're the soul of the record. The way he blends his classic Neptune sound with modern production techniques keeps everything fresh, but still pays respect to the era when Clipse first came up. This ain't some rehash. It's like Pharrell evolved with the times, but never lost that original sauce that made Clipse blow up in the first place. Plus, his vocals coming through on multiple tracks add this layer of smoothness and vibe that keeps the album flowing like one cohesive project instead of a bunch of random songs thrown together. Real talk, Clipse coming back together after all these years tells you something about loyalty and artistry in the game. Pusha T and Malice both grew up, changed their outlooks, but the bond stayed strong enough to make this project happen. And that chemistry, it's unmistakable, like no time passed between them. You can hear the hunger in their voices, the wisdom from their journeys, and the confidence of men who know their legacy ain't never gonna fade. This album ain't just a comeback, it's a statement to the culture that real hip-hop don't die, it just evolves and comes back stronger. But now I ain't even done yet. The real question is, what does all this mean for the culture right now? In an era dominated by fast trends and fleeting internet waves, Clipse choosing to drop an album steeped in real lyricism, storytelling, and quality production feels like a much needed intervention. They showing the new generation that you can keep it authentic and still be relevant, that respect for the craft counts for something. And with features from guys like Kendrick and Tyler, they bridging the gap between old school realness and modern creativity. All right, now before I move on to the deeper cuts and some crazy behind the scenes gems nobody's talking about yet, let me ask you this. How many of y'all really peeped the album yet? If you haven't, I'm finna keep this one rolling because we about to dive deeper than just the surface. Smash that like button and hit subscribe if you rock with the vibes, because I'm bringing nothing but those high-key takes and insights you won't find nowhere else. Trust me, fam, if you into hip-hop culture and want to see how legends handle a comeback, you'll want to be here for all of this. Now, what really blew me away was how Clipse didn't just rest on their past glories. Nah, they came with evolved sounds, themes, and messages that hit hard in 2025. We see reflections on loyalty, betrayal, street life, but also growth and faith. The title itself, Let God Sort Them Out, speaks volumes about their mindset. Like they stepping back from the drama, letting higher powers handle the snakes and fakes while they focus on their craft and bettering themselves. And if you listen close, some lines are so layered, you'll catch new meanings with every listen. One of the most surprising elements was the gospel vibe brought in by Voices of Fire. That added a spiritual weight to the album, making you feel like this wasn't just a music project. It was therapy, a prayer, a reflection of life's struggles and victories. You don't see many hip-hop projects embrace gospel that deeply nowadays, and that's a bold move that definitely paid off. It's like Clipse reaching for something bigger than just bars and beats. They tapping into the soul of the game. And speaking of surprises, Pharrell dropping vocals as well. Fam, that threw me off at first. We used to know Pharrell as the guy pushing the sounds, but hearing his vocals weaving in and out gave the tracks a new energy. It's subtle but effective, creating layers that pull you in without ever stealing the spotlight from Pusha T and Malice. It's Pharrell's way of showing that this album was a true collaboration, not just him handing over beats and dipping out. Now we got to talk about how features played a big role in shaping this project's vibe. Kendrick coming through with his poetic bars on chains and whips wasn't just for sound. They complemented Clipse's storytelling, adding depth and a fresh perspective without overshadowing the hosts. That track in particular had a weighty atmosphere that reminds you why Kendrick is one of the best in the game right now. Nas bringing that OG wisdom on the final track closed the album with class and respect, signaling that the torch has been passed, but the reverence remains. Tyler's contribution on POV was unexpected but brilliant, breaking any monotony and keeping the energy unpredictable. This album also made me think about the business side of things. Dropping under Roc Nation, Clipse aligned themselves with an empire known for elevating artists and protecting legacies. That move alone tells you they still got that hunger for major impact, not just with the music, but in how they manage their careers. It's like they playing chess, not checkers. They recognized the cultural moment and made sure the rollout matched that energy. But here's the kicker. Despite all this high-profile production, those raw Clipse bars are what speak the loudest. Pusha T's razor-sharp lyricism, layered with Malice's gritty storytelling, reminds you why these two were kings of the street rap scene back in the day. Their chemistry is untouchable. The way they bounce off each other, finishing bars like they never left. The intensity is real, and that's rare in today's scene where so much sounds auto-tuned and over-processed. And yo, the tracks The Birds Don't Sing and Let God Sort Them Out Chandeliers deserve a special shout out for their storytelling and production choices that bookend the album perfectly. Opening with a soulful, almost haunting vibe, and closing with a hard-hitting, reflective joint featuring Nas shows they thought this project through from beginning to end. That approach is why this album hits different, standing out in a market flooded with generic sounds. By now, I bet you hungry to know about those lesser-known songs and hidden gems within the project. The tracks that might slip past the casual listener, but pack some serious punch if you pay attention. These songs unravel layers of pain, hustle, and growth that paint a fuller picture of who Pusha T and Malice really are now. Stick with me as I break down those joints next, cause what happens there is gonna shock a lot of y'all. But before we jump into that deep dive, I wanna know, what track had you vibing the hardest on your first listen? Sound off below, cause we gotta build that convo. This album deserves real discussion, not just quick streams. And if you ain't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I got plenty more heat coming about Clipse in the culture, and you don't wanna miss it. All right, fam, now buckle up, cause the next part, we get into some of those untold stories, how this project almost didn't happen, the behind the scenes drama, and the secrets Pharrell wasn't supposed to tell. That info gonna flip what you think you know upside down. Keep it locked. Alright, so now that we got the surface covered and you feeling the vibe, let's peel back the layers and get into the real talk, the stuff that ain't in the press releases or the highlight reels. Peep this, a project like Let God Sort Them Out wasn't just sliding out smooth. Nah, there were moments when it looked like Clipse's comeback might stay a W in the mind, but never hit the streets. From what I heard, the reunion almost didn't happen because of some old tensions between Pusha T and Malice. Y'all remember those past beefs and the space they had between them? Well, it took mad time and some serious healing behind closed doors for them to get back in the same booth, vibing again. That alone shows you this project wasn't just about glorifying their past. It was a realignment, a brotherhood reborn. And bruh, Pharrell, don't get it twisted. This ain't no casual producer gig for him. Dude's been on these cats like glue, breaking down walls and pushing them to own their evolution. Fam told me Pharrell was almost like a mediator on some sessions, making sure old drama didn't sabotage what could be a legendary move. That's respect right there. Knowing your role ain't just to add beats, but to keep the peace and vision tight. Makes you appreciate the unity that comes through on every track even more. But here's the wildest part. While they were cooking this masterpiece, some surprising leaks almost threatened the whole rollout. Early demos of a few tracks started floating around social media before the drop, stirring the pot and getting everybody hyped, but also raising mad concerns about whether the album would actually land intact. Clipse and Pharrell had to go into lock mode, clamping down hard on leaks and rumors, cause the industry don't wait for nobody when it comes to spoiling the surprise. What's extra crazy is that Pharrell's vocals on the album, those came about kind of last minute. Sources say the initial plan was just for him to produce, but after vibing with Pusha and Malice in the studio, he felt inspired to jump in fully and layer his energy on top. That spontaneous move wasn't planned, but it brought this unexpected dimension that really elevated the album's cohesion. So when you hear his voice in the background, that's Pharrell showing the love and taking ownership over the entire creative process. If we talk biz again, you gotta mention Roc Nation's role in flipping this comeback. Signing with Jay-Z's Powerhouse wasn't just about cash or clout, it was a strategic W on their end, putting Clipse in the perfect lane for a new generation of fans and veterans to vibe with this project. Roc Nation's marketing machinery came through heavy, making sure every angle was covered, from slick visuals to exclusive listening events and even surprise pop-ups that had the streets buzzing. This kind of rollout told me Clipse aren't messing around. They're here to remind the world why they still hold that crown. Now, one thing that really stuck with me about this album is how it deals with faith and reflection. The title, Let God Sort Them Out, isn't just a clever line, it's a whole spiritual stance. Both Pusha T and Malice, who's also known as No Malice now, have openly talked about their personal journeys, how the struggle transformed into a search for meaning beyond just the hustle and the bragging. This project's full of moments where that inner battle shines through, reminding you that even kings from the streets gotta wrestle with bigger questions. That makes the album hit different for anyone who's been through the same kind of growth or just craves real substance. I gotta shout out those tracks that might slide under the radar for some folks. Close to God, featuring Stove God Cooks and Ab Lava, that joint is a deep cut that blends raw street lyrics with a serious reflection on survival and redemption. Then there's Reckless Energy, which sounds like pure adrenaline, but packs in clever wordplay and metaphor that show Clipse still mastering their craft. These tracks prove they ain't just banking on features or nostalgia, they put in that work and sharpen their game to perfection. Speaking of features, each collaborator brings a unique flavor that complements instead of competes with Clipse's style. Kendrick Lamar's presence is heavy, like he's passing the torch, but with respect and honor. Nas, meanwhile, brings that OG aura, wrapping up the album with wisdom that commands attention. Tyler, the creator, dude breaks the mold, flipping expectations in a way that keeps even longtime Clipse heads guessing and locked in. It's the mix of these voices that makes Let God Sort Them Out more than a reunion. It's a cultural conversation spanning generations. I ain't going to front, this album also got me thinking about where hip-hop heads are today. In a landscape flooded with auto-tune, energy mimicry, and algorithm chasing, Clipse coming back with this kind of authentic skill and story is a straight-up intervention. They showing the new wave that you can keep it 100, stay loyal to the art, and still make noise. It's almost like a blueprint for how to balance respect for legacy with hunger for relevance, and that's something we need more of right now. Now, I know some of y'all probably thinking, all right, but what's the downside? Is it all just with this drop? Real talk, even legends gotta face critique. Some heads out there say the album's length drags at points, or that Pharrell's smoother sounds sometimes clash with the rawness Clipse built their name on. Others wish for a bit more experimental change rather than falling back on familiar formulas. Those takes got merit, no doubt. It shows that even in a well-crafted comeback, not everything hits home for every listener, and that's cool. It keeps the discussion alive and the artists pushing boundaries for next time. But here's where I gotta give Pusha T and Malice props. Rather than play it safe, they put their growth on display, not just lyrically, but philosophically. They acknowledge their flaws, their past mistakes, and the streets that raised them, but also bring that evolved outlook that only time and experience can provide. It's like they invited us to witness not just a reunion, but a reconciliation with themselves and the culture they helped shape. Before I let y'all go, let me drop this last nugget. Word on the streets is Clipse might already be cooking up visuals and even prepping for a tour to push the album live. If that's true, we ain't just witnessing a one-time blitz, it's a full comeback campaign with the potential to shake the game like never before. Imagine that energy, them crowds vibing to cuts they haven't heard in over a decade, plus new joints hitting different. Real legends never disappear, they just wait for the right moment to remind the world who's king. So to all my real heads out there, the question now is, how you feeling about Clipse's return? Are they holding their crown, or should they've stayed in the shadows? Which track stuck in your brain or made you press replay? I want y'all to chop it up in the comments. Let's get the convo popping and keep this culture alive and breathing. And if you vibing with this deep dive, you already know what to do. Smash that like, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next heat dropping here. I got plenty more to unpack, and trust me, ain't nobody breaking this down like we do. All right, fam, appreciate y'all rolling through with me today. Stay woke, stay grinding, and remember, the real ones never fade. They just let God sort them out. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.